I mean, obviously like this stuff exists in every scene and every genre, but I mean, I think it's a real problem. Like to me, like you know, if you've seen my videos, you know that I think of like, how do we make this kind of music more mainstream? And any kind of like backward, bigoted kind of beliefs among fans is just absolute cancer in terms of making the genre more relevant and mainstream, because that rightfully gets less and less acceptable every year. And like you compare that with pop, you know, or rap or anything else, like there was like zero room for people like that.
Yeah.
Zero. Like you cannot like imagine being like anti-woman or anti-black in the pop world. Like it can't exist.
Yeah. And it's like, we're at a point in the metal community where metal is getting popular again. I mean, you've got, dude, I never thought I'd see a day where deathcore bands are selling out tours in advance. It's bonkers. Like
hitting the, you know, Spotify viral top 50.
It's crazy. And it's metal right now is starting to get like, it's almost like we're back in like the turn of the century when new metal was mainstream. Like extreme metal is starting to get mainstream. And with the metal community, again, it likes to act like it's all like loving and inclusive and stuff like that. People need to stop pretending that it's like that and call it out when it's not. Because I see it way too much, man. And it bums me out. There are definitely days as a metalhead where I see comments on certain posts and stuff like that. And I'm just like, God, I don't want to be associated with any of these people. Like it's
like as an example of this that blows my mind. So Nurgle from Behemoth is friends with the guy from Graveland. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're a literal actual Nazi band. I'm not being like one of these like woke people that calls any Republican a Nazi. Like the guy is in a band that Sieg Heils and has swastikas and stuff. And Nurgle takes pictures with him and calls him a good friend and was like on a Graveland album back in the day. And everyone's like, oh, well, you know, whatever. Why do we have to bring politics into this? And like the dude is a literal Nazi and you people are like indifferent to this. Like what world am I living in?
And you hear the argument from people a lot where they're like, well, you know, you just got to learn to separate the artist from the art. And
no,
like,
I don't.
No. Yeah, you don't. It's right now. It's the conversation that people are having about Phil from Pantera.
Right.
Like, do I think that Phil is an actual like neo-Nazi dude? I really don't.
Probably
I think he's just one of those like, I know so many people I've toured with that are in like their 40s that still act like an edgy 14-year-old because they get a rise out of people and they just like to be edgy. And, you know, you see the clips of Phil doing the fucking Sieg Heils and stuff like that. And you're like, do I actually think he's a Nazi? No. Is this appropriate though? Absolutely not. But there are so many people that are defending him and that are like, well, you know, it's Phil. Like, you know, it's just Phil goofing around. Like, screaming white power and doing Hitler salutes is not a joke. Like it's not,
even
it's
if
not
he
funny.
meant it as a joke, it's not okay. End of story. Joke. The end, period.
Yeah.
And like you seen the clip of Dimebag at NAMM? Someone asked him to sign a guitar.
Yeah.
And he says, can that N-word play?
Oh God, I know. R. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I love Pantera's music with all my heart. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. And I don't want that to be true, but it's like, dude, if you're Sieg Heiling on stage and saying white power and Dimebag with a totally straight face says the N-word with a hard R, just like it's nothing, like, what do you like? You can't deny it. You got to just admit, like, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, then it is a duck. And I hate saying that because I absolutely love Pantera, but like, we can't make excuses for this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Rob Flynn, I know people hate on Rob Flynn from Machine Head, but like, not all of his takes I agree with. Like, he does say some stuff where I'm like, whatever. But after that thing happened with Phil at the Dime Bash, Excuse me. Rob had a really good take on that and was like, guys, we need to stop giving passes to these artists for their actions just because we like their music so much.
Yep.
And you had a fantastic video on that whole separating the art from the artist and make up your own decision about how you want to support them with what they've done. And I loved that video because a good example of that for me is Tim Lambesis.
Yeah.
Like, I will not listen to As I Lay Dying anymore. I won't.
No, never.
I have friends that do. I'm not going to shame them for it. I'm not going to judge them for it. Whatever, that's their choice. But for me, on a personal level, with my morals and what I believe, I cannot support something like that, like with a person that has done something like that. And, you know, Pantera is one of those for me too. I love that band. I've loved their music, but I look at their career and I'm just like, this is a bummer. Cause like,
it's a huge bummer. I don't want it to be true, but I'm not going to deny reality.
Yeah. And you always get the fans that I don't even think they're trying to defend the band. I think they're trying to defend themselves from supporting the band, because you hear everything, especially about Pantera. It's like, well, they're from Texas, you know, that's how they were back then, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, they're from a different generation. They talk different. I was like, dude, if people can change and grow up, because I'll be honest, like, I've said this many times on my channel. I'm not an angel here, dude. When I was when I was a teenager, dude, I used horrible derogatory language.
Dude, I said horrible shit in my 30s.
Yeah, like we're in a certain place where we just don't think about it, and like,
yeah,
you know, eventually you grow, you change, or you don't. And unfortunately, some people just don't.